Hi, I'm Ferdi Serim, and what follows is a conversation I had yesterday with Kunal Dalal, who is working with AI and parent leadership. So I hope you enjoy this conversation because it will introduce what we're looking to do with parents from your school.
For me, this is the cornerstone of why this is why the parent-child space is so important. Um, we have an opportunity to build a new world, and we have an opportunity to change sort of the architecture, if you will, of our current societal and economic systems. And it doesn't take us a whole lot of digging to know that things need to fundamentally change if the things that we care about are the things that are going to bubble up to the highest value. There's going to be a lot of folks in this AI space, and there are currently who see AI as just another way to corporatize advantage and corporatize a sort of what I call police state capitalism, and I call it that because if you don't participate, you get punished. And I don't necessarily have a fundamental hatred of capitalism. I just don't like that we don't have a choice, and that to me doesn't make us as families sovereign units. And so for me, this AI space first starts in the interpersonal space between child and parent. Pardon me, sorry about that. But it starts between child and parent, and that fundamental unit of child and parent and family, and then extending to intimate communities that are familiar and that support one another. That unit, to me, is where we first understand AI. And if we can understand AI there first, then AI as work, AI as school, AI as all the other things that AI can be, all of those things become a lot more real and a lot more human. If we start with AI as something you do at work to be able to send your emails better, and then you go into your family like, okay, how, well, I use it for AI, and then it can become a plaything, which is also fun. We should do playthings, but that doesn't, for me, leverage the power that the family has to redefine this moment as we build AI into whatever it's going to be in the world. And so that's my primary sort of thesis of where it is. And then I shared this image from that morning. It was one of the most heartwarming images where I had a parent session with Megan, and as I was talking with her son, because we made a little Tooth Fairy app for him while we were on the call, and he was so excited, gave his mom a big hug, and it was just like the most. And I was like, this is what we can do as leaders in AI. And if you see AI as a parent and as a child as a moment where you get to give each other a big hug because you connected about something, then what does AI mean for the rest of the world, right? If we care about building a world that's just beautiful, joyful, then AI starts at home because that's where the fundamentals of our connection, joy, community, that's where they all begin. And so that's sort of my thesis. I have my stuff about my book and all of that, but this is where I think it really was started for me. And I think
Oh,
it's
I
a
love
good
that
good way to
story. This is cool. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's a good way to share kind of the power of, because I think it's unexpected to say, oh my God, he was using it with a 2.5-year-old. 2.5-year-old shouldn't be using AI. Well, that's not the story here. The story is there's a father who grew up in a different country who doesn't know how to communicate to his son what his childhood was like because he doesn't have pictures. He doesn't have, and maybe he doesn't have the language to really do it, right? I have big degrees. I've written big papers, so I have a lot of language. A lot of parents don't have that, and they feel self-conscious about how do I share my childhood. Maybe I don't want to share my poverty, right? Maybe I don't want to share my struggles with my child. But maybe if I build a little piece of AI art that doesn't show something that I'd rather not share, but rather shows my emotions, my joy, my being there. Maybe that there's some connection there. And so this was literally my first AI image with my son was this one right here, where I said, "Show me an image." of me, and you see it right there, pencil watercolor drawing, eating luchi and aloo, which is, Indian food on a train in India. And when I saw this image, my body shook. And you can see it's, by today's standards, it's a really, really bad image. But in the moment, at that time, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I mean, this was shocking that this could be created. And it sent shivers like down, like totally hair stood up. And then I started to make more images. Claymation. I was like, oh, that's what it was like to get on the train to go see my grandfather. Oh, that was exactly what it was like when my friends and I got on a bus and we were looking at that bridge and sunset. This is what puja looked like when we were celebrating the streets. This is what maybe just a random day as we were walking down, and there's a tuk-tuk, what we call auto rickshaws in India. There's a little auto rickshaw there. The feelings, right? And I put the prompts in there, but the feelings that I've got to connect with my son with. And so then where does that take us? It takes us to a place now where my son now, he himself now imagines in a way that he never imagined before. And of course, he's growing up, he's changing, things are happening. But also, this image, Saturn. I wonder what Saturn. It's okay. Are you still able to hear me all right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it says, I wonder what Saturn would look like if that was our moon. First off, I don't know that he would have even had that thought had he not known that we could have made it an image, right? I don't even know if he would have had that thought. We had the thought, we made an image out of it, and then he says, hold on, Bobby, Saturn wouldn't be our moon, we would be Saturn's moon, because Saturn's bigger than us. Again, he would have never had that thought had he not seen that image. And then the next step, Bobby put that on an iPad and put it up next to my painting pad so I can draw it. He became Bob Ross, right? I'm like, we worry that, oh, AI is going to take away their artistic, they're going to take away their creativity, they're going to take away all of this stuff. No, it's not. It's actually going to build it. It's actually going to grow it. It's actually going to make it so that they want to do it more. Dream journals, right? My son now, he's doing, he doesn't do it every day now. He's sort of gotten accustomed to it. Children, they go in their ups and downs. They like things and then they don't like things. And so now he's building, as we do dreams, this is an old dream where he was monster trucks and eyeballs. And we've been doing dreams for 3 years. One of the most remarkable things that's happened to me is I have been able to see his dreams evolve as he's gotten older. And it started with his dreams being dreams about, it's monster trucks, it's dinosaurs, it's whales. He had an incredible dream about a flying dinosaur pooping on a whale. What a beautiful 4-year-old dream, right? And then now his dreams all have himself in it. So every time he describes a dream now, he's like, I'm running through a field. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And so I've seen now from him being 2.5 to being 5 now, where his dreams have transformed from this external world to now he knows he is part of this world. I don't know if I could have visualized and really appreciated that transformation had I not been doing these images with him for 2.5 years. And then finally, this last one, right? Like this one just is the mind blowing one, right? Where he's like, every time I show these images to make sure that I tell the whole story, because he's like, I don't want anyone to think that, and this is like, again, his understanding of himself. I don't want anyone to think I made them. AI made them, but they came from my mind. He's understanding the reflective and reflexive nature of this tool, right? He's seeing it as a self-evaluation, not self-evaluation, that's not the right word, but self-reflective tool, right? A space where he gets to wonder, a space where he gets to think, a space where he gets to create. But this image right there, where he was like, every time there's a big idea in a show, it's always like a light bulb that goes off. But that's not what it feels like to me, Poppy. To me, it feels like I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if I should share it. Sometimes it's a scary idea, and maybe I should just forget about it, and maybe I shouldn't have the idea at all. And then as we started to make images, he saw this one pop up, and he was like, "Bam, Poppy, that's it." And he said, that's what happens when I have an idea. I don't know if it's a good one. I don't know if it's a bad one. I don't know if I should share it. It's cloudy. It's just unsure. And again, this is a 4-year-old talking about his metacognition. And that to me is staggering.
So now tell me about what happens when parents gather in these lighthouse homes
I am.
meetings, because that's just really, I think that's what's going to blow people away.
Yep. So here you go. Here's a few. I got these two slides with the images. So please feel free to use these images and these slides if you'd like. But this was our very first one. And I've already had so many requests for the second one that I realized that I'm going to have to limit the number of people. And so this is a loud group behind me. But this happened. You can see the parents sitting in a circle, the kids outside playing. I cooked Indian food for everyone, bringing my own cultural history and my child's cultural history and sort of my heart, if you will, right? My heart into this space. We had Ashley over here who brought her daughter, who's 12. And she didn't go play with the kids outside. She sat with us in the circle and participated and asked questions. And then we had this tiny little baby who was I mean, that image of this tiny little baby and a father just like walking back and forth while we're talking about AI. That's not an image that you would imagine, right? But it is to me, the center of why we are doing this and the center of how this is going to blossom, to seed, to grow. And if we lean into that, rather than sort of think about it as secondary, tertiary, whatever, parents, I don't know, AI isn't it, or what does that mean? Rather, if we center it here, then these are the moments that become real for us. That's what happened in this lighthouse moment was there were some parents who just absorbed and they didn't say a whole lot, maybe here or there. And there were some parents who were just like leaning in and had a bunch of questions. But it was nobody was left out. It was this beautiful little improv moment where we worked with one another. And again, it was this is our first rehearsal, basically, right? You could think of it that way, right? We haven't practiced before. We've never even met each other before. So there's so much more to go. In my world of AI and education, there's a AI literacy is like it's such a big buzzword. And I say, hey, I'm not against this term, but can we be a little bit cognizant of what we're saying? Because that term literacy has been used as a weapon for a long time, and in fact continues to be used as a weapon. And I can speak for myself as an Indian. Our ancient Brahmins were the only ones who could read Sanskrit, and they told everyone else what caste they were and how terrible they were and how they were never allowed inside of a temple. But that was based on literacy. Medieval Europe, same thing. And then like there was literacy literally called the literacy test in Jim Crow
Yep.
Southern America, right? Like in the southern U.S. South. And so this idea of literacy and the written word as being because it's sort of this response to this idea of AI is taking away essay writing. Oh, AI is therefore taking away thinking. And I'm like, wait, since when did we equate writing with thinking? Now I'm having a problem here, right? Because now you're taking something that's been used as a tool of oppression. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm also saying let's put it in context because I do think some things need to be written down. But then I also listened to this beautiful podcast by this indigenous leader in California who was asked by the podcast host, "Don't you want to write this stuff down?" Like he was telling these stories, ancient stories. He was like, "Don't you want to write this stuff down?" And he said, "Hell no." And they said, "Why not?" And he said, "Look at what they did to the Bible. There's no way we're writing this down." He said, "These stories are meant to be oral stories that are told by the person. And that story belongs to that person in that moment. Once you write it down, now it belongs to whoever wrote it down. No, our stories don't belong to anyone. They belong to the person telling the story." And that, to me, when I was just on a podcast 2 days ago where they were asking about AI bias, and I was like, 99%, 99.9% of what humans have thought of has not been written down and therefore is not in the data. And so we can complain about the bias, but we only have 0.1% of if that, probably much, much less.
Well, and the other piece, though, that struck me when you were speaking I remember I lived through the 60s. I remember through these times. I remember the freedom schools. What were freedom schools about? Freedom schools were counteracting the fact that people were prevented from developing literacy because it gave them additional power. So it's a two-edged thing. If you're not being honored and your identity is being erased because there's no recorded version of it, I'm a musician who started out classically, and I got my master's and all like that, so I know how to read music. But when I started playing in the Black Gospel Church in Newark, New Jersey, I understood that the music wasn't coming from outside. The music was coming from, Mother Earth. The music was coming from this other dimension that is beyond time and space, and those are here. The ancestors are present and living and breathing through us. And so the music, the beauty of that music is that it only happens one time and it's only experienced by the people who are present when it's happening one time. And in the African tradition, there's no such thing as audience and performers. There's just everybody. It's the community feeling it, which was the vibe that I got at the International Folk Art Market, was that thing. So in a way, we're doing both sides of this. We're getting people to understand that not only that which is written is of value, and not only the people who do the writing are of value, everything could be of value, but everyone now has the opportunity to be a creator. You're not, you don't, you're, and it is a dialogue kind of thing. And like your son said, that's so beautiful. I didn't make this, the AI made it, but it came from me. Right now, the crisis is in understanding who we are. And your son's understanding at the age of 5 of where he is rivals anybody that's ever going to see or hear what we're talking about right now, because the opportunities that he's having and the way that you as a parent are providing them is good medicine. It's you know liberating. It's something that is uh and I think when we talk about freedom too, we have to be honest about that. It's an acquired taste. I mean, the freedom is, I think more people are terrified of freedom than feel that they lack it, because it's like then there's no
I
ground
think you're right.
revenue, there's no
Yeah.
anything else. But when you have the confidence and you've worked on the social emotional types of things that we work on for well-being, understanding that you go through this variety of emotions, that some of them are very painful, some of them, going back to the Indian thing, that some of them are karma. And so when you're experiencing something right now unpleasant, maybe you didn't do anything now, but still it's come to you. It's yours to process. And once you process it, you can move beyond it. Only when you process it can you move beyond it. So imagine the well-being that will be centered in these young people who discover who they are in a safe, protected, loving environment, and then go into the world already knowing who they are and where their resources come from and what to do when they get overwhelmed, that they have people they trust they can turn to. That's going to be what they need, all of this preparation in order to be able to thrive and for us to move through this difficult moment where it's clear that a lot of the things around us are crumbling and dying, and we grieve about that. I was talking with someone today who is so sad about this thing she's been working on for 4 or 5 years maybe falling apart. And I said, it may, but it may be falling apart so it can come back together a different way that works better than the way it had to come together under the previous mindset. So we're all about to become co-creators of the reality we'd like to see. At the darkest moments, we're able to bring together the brightest moments. And as Rahsaan Roland Kirk said, it's all about bright moments.
Absolutely, absolutely. The water in the green spots. Oh, that's never leaving my mind. Parents, in my experience so far, parents have been overjoyed by it, and I can see it with you as well, right? It's just it's almost like reminding ourselves of who we are, and why this thing that we know matters so much and is matters more than anything else in our lives. And now it's like, wait, hold on, I can take this thing that matters the most in my life and actually center it in what matters most in the world. oh my God, are we back to our indigenous roots? We might be, and I hope we are.
I too.
Yeah,
I too. All right. Thank you so much, Kunal. I'll let you know each step as it unfolds.
absolutely. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.